Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I am so excited to introduce you to one of my favorite people, the founder, owner, and CEO of BBN Creative Management, Blair Bryant Nichols. And he handles, I know a lot of you are out there and you're interested in becoming a virtual speaker, or even when COVID's over, being on stage, which will be very exciting. And Blair is a very seasoned talent manager. He has built so many people's careers. In fact, he was the first person I met in the USA and has really helped my career in so many ways, from guiding me on my website to my reels to show people what I do, and couldn't do it without him. So Blair, welcome, and it's just wonderful to have you. It's kind of early there in West Hollywood, your glamorous life. What time is it there right now?
Thanks, Barb. It's 8 a.m. over here on the west coast of the continent. I know you're on the farthest east part of the continent, so you're always 4 hours ahead of me, but this is a perfectly normal time to get up over here. We're early risers. We're used to
Yeah,
dealing with the East Coast
that's right. That's
getting a
right.
jump on us.
Except at the
So,
end of the day when you're writing and we're all asleep. Now that I go
yeah,
to bed at
exactly.
9:30.
I know.
Um,
I'm like sending you an email and I'm like, oh, what time is it
is she
there?
gonna
Oh, she's probably
respond?
already in bed.
Asleep. I was up at 4 this morning making beans for our backgammon cribbage tournament with my husband's parents. So we're very excited. I've never made beans before.
Oh, I thought you said memes, like you were
Memes.
making social media memes. I was like, wow, that's
Yeah,
really
they would
bizarre.
like
It
that too. They would love
sounds
that
like a
too.
good use
Trust
of your
me.
time at 4 in the morning.
They're very funny. They would like that too. So yeah. So it's a changed world.
Yeah.
What do you think? How are people adapting virtually to speaking and communicating and traveling virtually?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on, Barb. I'm excited to chat about this when you first mentioned that this is like what you wanted to share with your audience because it has changed. The whole speaking world and the industry has changed dramatically since the beginning of this year. And I think a lot of people have, like yourself, adapted to the virtual speaking presentations, and other people are still taking time to figure out what that looks like, what that means, how do they still make money, how do they get their message out there and continue, building their business.
Hmm.
Um, but what I wanted to share with everyone today is that now's the best time to become a speaker. And now there's more opportunities than ever to really think about how you're using virtual platforms to spread your message and build your business, because it's not just virtual events where people are showing up live, and now people are creating these virtual studios and they've got screens all over with all of the different Zoom windows and all of that. Now people are looking at all different platforms as a stage. So you've got your Instagram lives, your social media, you've got all sorts of different platforms that really are just like any other speaking engagement. When you break out of thinking that a speaking engagement has to be in a theater, in an audience, in a stadium, in a whatever conference room, at a hotel or a corporation, like speaking, what you're doing, when you're spreading your message and you're, whether it's to help grow your business or just to, pursue your advocation of sharing knowledge and expertise, there's more virtual opportunities than ever to do that. And the audiences are bigger than ever for things like that as well. So live events that might have drawn 500, 1,000 people are now getting 3,000, 4,000 people on live, So I think it's just a really exciting time. If you're a speaker or someone that is really trying to get in front of an audience more frequently, now's the best time to be pursuing virtual and investing in learning how you can really best present, and also investing in, building your setup and making your, surrounding, like Barb has done, so beautiful, so that when people talk to you, they realize they're not getting someone's, Zoom setup at home. Like I see even on cable news, people are, conferencing in from wherever, and you think, can't they get a real camera or something on these people? They're on television. I see speakers who are, looking even more professional and even more polished, just doing the same thing from home if you've got the right equipment and the right setup and all of that.
That's a great point, Blair, because, for me, I find, when I go live, I do miss the live and the audience interaction, of course, but, you're on a plane, which I love, but you're tired, and then you've got to make sure you're up early, and you've got to get to the event, and there's other things going on. And so you get there, and sometimes you can be somewhat frazzled. You still, when it's showtime, it's showtime. And thank you, Kathleen. It is a gorgeous backdrop, isn't it? Kathleen loves our backdrop. Hi, Kathleen. We love you. You met Kathleen in New York. We were at Soho House together.
I know. Hi, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Congrats. Kathleen's out there doing real speaking too and moderating. Congrats. I'm glad things are starting slowly to pick back up in real life too. But we'll talk about the future as well. But yeah.
Yeah. So it's I think being able to go down the hall to my studio is very relaxing. So I was able to bake beans. I was able to make a pumpkin loaf. I was able to hug the cat and let him explore the outdoors in the dark on the deck. It was a big discovery. And then come and speak with you, and then afterwards do some interviews with New York. And I really feel like without this setup, I wouldn't have the confidence because the cat would be walking by, or there's noise from one of the children or something, or the neighbors. And so having a properly soundproofed, so you can't see my whole studio right now, but there's soundproofing everywhere, and it's very important that you have a secure place to go where you can just relax and present. And I've got to say, I have never done virtual talks until COVID happened. I don't think I'll stop. I will have a mix of both. Do you think that's going to be where the industry goes? That there's going to be a fusion, that there's going to be both going on?
Yeah, I think now more than ever, people are doing virtual and also starting to figure out how events are going to be hybrid. So what I think is exciting for speakers is when we shifted virtual, the benefits for the speakers are numerous. Like you mentioned, you don't have to go anywhere. You're not traveling. You're not away from home for 1, 2, 3 nights, depending on where you're going. And plus all of that time spent on site. Think about all of the time that goes into an event for a speaker, whether they're actively doing anything not, or just sitting around. You're away from your business, you're away from your family. So having virtual speaking engagements, I know clients and people who are doing 3 or 4 a day, because they can stack them and they can space them out throughout the day. It's just a 30 to 60-minute commitment, and they're able to really maximize their time that way. And I think in the future, what's really going to be beneficial is all these speakers who just got so used to being road warriors and going out all over the place to, pick up any speaking engagement that comes their way. Now, at least there's options. I think forever, speakers are going to have now the option to do things virtually or do things live. I know so many speakers that say they miss being in person. They miss being, like you said, they miss being in front of an audience, and that's great. But I don't know anyone that misses traveling, 200 days a year, or staying in hotels, so many nights away from their own bed. So I hope that the future looks like you really get to choose. What are the events that are worthwhile to show up for? What are the events that you really need to be there in person? And which are the ones that you can do virtually, and really not feel guilty about that? Exercise, the option to do that, to create better balance and, sanity in your life, and just be able to get your message in front of as many audiences, but not have to endure travel and being away from your business, etc., just because it might be like a quick engagement that you otherwise wouldn't want to miss.
Right. Well, I think we're going to be healthier for it too. Both Nazanin and Kathleen agree with your points here, which is great. Thank you guys for watching. It's true. I think I'm healthier now. I can work out. I worked out this morning. Sometimes when you're on the road, there is no time for a workout because of the travel component to the day, whether it's just traveling to the venue, to the site. So I think virtual helps us stay healthier and calmer and gets us off that hamster wheel. What about someone who, I know Kathleen and myself, we've given talks live, but what about someone who's never given a talk? Mm-hmm. I have people write me all the time. They want to work on their public speaking. Well, now they don't really get that chance live. And I'm wondering what they can do, what anyone out there listening now or later, because this is going to stay up on the Facebook page so people can watch it later. What do people do if they want to get involved in speaking? They've never done it.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of things you can do, but I always tell people, speak wherever you can speak, and speaking will beget more speaking. So you might not, have an audience right now that's, you might not have thousands of followers on social media. Where I was going to suggest, you could go live. You can go live on social media and just practice, speaking and kind of putting yourself in a position to be on your toes and kind of force yourself to practice. And it doesn't matter if two or three people show up. That's great
That's
practice. But
right.
what I imagine is that most of you, if you're interested in speaking, you're probably involved in organizations. You're probably, somewhat, networking or out there doing things. So if you're in a nonprofit, like my mom's in, nonprofit boards. Last night I tried calling and she's like texting me, I'm on a Zoom meeting for my board meeting.
Go Jan.
There's technical, you're in meetings, there's different opportunities for you to speak. And so I want you to think about anywhere that, you might be joining a meeting. Maybe they don't do a lot of presentations, but maybe you can do a presentation for your community group, for your nonprofit. Maybe you can do something, for the school that your kids go to, or the school that you went to. Colleges and universities are always eager to have alumni come back and share their knowledge and wisdom. So I always, suggest that people start with their network, start with your family and friends, and just simply ask if you can, do something, share your knowledge with their audience or community or organization or company, whatever it may be. Start there and see where it gets you. The more you speak, the more you'll speak.
That's right.
When I'm working in, been in agencies most of my entire career, when people come to us to ask about a speaker, it's because they saw them speak at another event. It's because they heard them on a podcast. It's because they've already experienced them. It isn't just that they, follow them on Instagram. It might be, so I would just say take any platform, any stage, and start honing your message. Start getting in front of it. If you're not going home for the holidays, use that Zoom get together as an opportunity to kind of share an update with the family on what you're doing. They don't know that you're practicing your talk for them. They just think maybe they're getting, some kind of rich insights into what you're up to. So I'd say take whatever platform comes along and whatever audience may be. And that's a great way to get started and to get comfortable, really starting to speak virtually.
I like that. I want to just share with you, Rhonda Lee Stevenson just shared that I'm speaking at a new virtual university today at the Reignite, the music conference. This campus is crazy amazing. As a prof, I have my little avatar who even breathes. Boardrooms, auditoriums, stages, band shells, even a football field venue with the Jumbotron, just like the Rose Bowl. Wow, Rhonda, that is so cool. I love it.
That is so cool. Yeah, I haven't heard about a whole virtual university
Check
like that.
out. I love it.
Really
And
cool.
Karen Van Hoovel was sharing that she loves that she can see us speaking right now and sharing information like this. So Karen, I want to share with you, this was actually Blair's idea, the notion of how do you start getting out there and speaking virtually, which I hadn't been doing. So we created this Facebook fan page, which is separate from your Facebook personal page. And from there, that's where you go live. So this podcast is our way of sharing information, and that way everybody out there gets to learn that, and I get a chance to practice my speaking, but I also get a chance to get more comfortable with the camera, different from on stage. So that's one tip. No matter who you are, like Blair was sharing, if family, whatever, but anybody can set up a Facebook page like this and go live and share something that matters to you. Could be recipes, it could be anything. It gives you a chance to just get out there, like Blair was saying. Blair, I'm just curious about how you go from doing virtual talks, because what happened when COVID first started, I know that a lot of people who had been paid speakers were suddenly just doing it for free. Anything to get out there, which can devalue, if this is your income, on how to give a talk. And so, Rhonda just shared it's called Spark University, just so when we want to look that up.
Well, thanks, Rhonda.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, for me, and I was able to pivot and get paid again as a virtual speaker. And not everyone has been able to make that leap. I know the studio matters, the content matters, the way you present it matters. Also, what about reels? I mean, I think a reel that shows and demonstrates what a person can do is important. We have a regular reel that shows me speaking live that Blair produced with my son. And it's really, that's been that video has defined all my talks as soon as they watch it, pretty much. And I remember when you gave us the direction on that, it was very straightforward. We produced it, booked a hotel for $100, and had it filmed and shot within a week and done with your direction, which was really incredible. And then the pivot virtually to do a virtual reel, which is a whole other thing. How important is a virtual reel? How important is showing people what you've got, what you're made of? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Well, Barb, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned this. It is really important when speakers are getting started and they're trying to figure out, how do I get out there? How do I promote myself as a speaker? How do I find, engagements or opportunities to speak? And they want to know what they need. And what I tell them is, you need a bio, you need a photo, because they're going to want to use those to market. But what you really need is video. People want to see you in action. So as Barb described, like, we created a really cool reel for her to highlight her in kind of an interview style, but see her on stage, different clips. People just get a sense of how you present and different audiences that you've been in front of, and kind of just get a more in-depth look at that, rather than just watching, just a video of your one talk. Like, they get a lot of different samples. So with the idea behind a virtual reel, and I think it is important because it's an entirely new format, right? You're not talking to an audience. Every reel I see, from the physical sense, was people on stage, people engaging with the audience. They kind of want to see how that looks. And now with virtual, like we're doing now, you're straight to camera. You're not in front of an audience. You're not looking at the people around you. It's a different format. It's like, how broadcast journalists have to learn a different style of presenting and learning to look straight into the camera, and how that can differ from how you engage and interact on stage. So I think it's really important to have a virtual reel to show how you can do different formats, how you're competent, and how you've diversified your portfolio to really, shine in all different formats and all different platforms. And so what's really cool is we have a special treat for you guys today. Barb and I, as she mentioned, we've been working on her virtual reel, and Victor, her son, who's one of the VPs of Seven Virtues, has done a marvelous job of putting this all together. So
he listens to you more than me, though. I mean, Blair, as soon as you tell him this is the way we go, he listens. Maybe it's a mother-son thing. I tease. He's talented. He's talented.
I'm known to have some opinions at times, apparently.
He's like, oh, Blair said this, let's do this. I'm like, what? Well, I said that. No, but Blair said it. It's very cute. It's very adorable.
I can't help it, but I think that the end result is definitely justified the few different draft versions that we went through. So we're going to continue this conversation, but we wanted to share the world premiere of Barb's virtual sizzle reel today with all of you. So Barb is going to get that ready. Are you ready to go?
I will get that ready right now. Kim Hickman just joined us, and she said it's very relevant for her right now because she's trying to do more live virtual speaking. She's learning great tips here today. So Kim and everyone who's listening, we're going to play this. Now, I have never done the tech before on putting a video on, just for context. My son came and showed me and then left with his 1950s camera film to go get it developed. And so there's nobody in the house to save me if I can't do this correctly. But I just want to add one thing as a mother. When I taught Victor to walk, I helped him. He doesn't show me the same respect. Victor's like, you know how to do it, go. Can you imagine if I ever said to him when he was learning to walk, get up? Anyway.
Yeah, Barb in her book mentions that you're their child's first teacher. So I guess, kind of boomerangs back later, and then the kids become the teachers, and they're not as patient, are they?
Not at all. Okay, let's see if I was paying attention. Here we go. World premiere.
Okay. You can see it. Make sure you comment in the comments so we know that it's working.
Our world has changed. We don't get to gather like we used to. At first, I really missed the excitement of traveling to give a talk. I loved the energy from the crowd and being witness to all that awakening live. Then our 600 stores closed. So much disappeared overnight. Sometimes life isn't going to go to plan. As Winston Churchill said, never waste a good crisis. So I went to work. I drew from the Stoic wisdom that I teach in my book and talks. We built a state-of-the-art in-house studio. I started doing Instagram lives and podcasts. We used our platform to lift other businesswomen. I've always loved lifting others. Now I'm able to deliver just as powerful a talk virtually. I love the Q&A afterwards. The chat gives everyone the power to engage directly and immediately in that moment.
Do you ever have an idea and people say it's too big? Use cathedral thinking. The architects of the great cathedrals knew that it takes 400 years to build a cathedral. They knew they would never see the steeples of their glorious vision touch the heavens, but they knew it was worth designing. Cathedral thinking.
Event organizers have told me the reason their audiences are connecting with my virtual talk and unique leadership model is twofold. First, the 7 virtues model of wonder, balance, truth, courage, justice, wisdom, and beauty is based on a 2,400-year-old philosophy that has guaranteed principles that can't fail you. And second, I put my words into action. As the CEO and founder of one of the top clean perfume brands in the world, I too am living in a competitive business world that requires philosophical direction. I applied the wisdom to my own company. Now in 2020, despite the pandemic, our growth in sales are outpacing the entire perfume industry with 81% growth over last year, breaking our own records too. I want everyone I work with to learn the steps to visualize and take action in this new world. I look forward to when we can be together again and host our retreats and mastermind gatherings. Until then, I invite you to subscribe to our website so we can support you in this new world. The stronger you are, the stronger I become. It's in our interest to lift one another. As the mother of feminism, Mary Wollstonecraft, said, the beginning is always today. The world is ours.
And we're back. We did it.
Yeah. So I hope you guys got a sense of kind of why that's different. You know, what's different about a virtual reel. You saw Barb on Instagram. You saw her in her studio. You saw her front to camera and behind the scenes. So meeting planners, organizers know that she's got a really professional setup, that she's got, you know, great camera presence. She looks great. The quality's great. The background's great. You know, just everything about it just shows that when they hire you, when they hire Barb, they're going to get a really professional experience. They're going to get a professional presentation and it's going to look good. The audio is good, that, you know, all these things that now are in your control as a speaker. So Barb mentioned, you know, Victor left the house, but, you know, most people don't have a Victor at home. They're doing this on their own. They're setting up their own tech. They're managing kind of, you know, the comments and all of that. So it's great practice as a speaker to be able to kind of figure out all the different nuances yourself, because what really sets other virtual speakers apart is how well they manage that technology, how well they can, you know, use the comments and the questions and the raising hands and all of that and the polling and Zoom. Like, there's so many fun things you can do on technology platforms now. And it's, you know, the best speakers are the ones that really still try to make it engaging with the audience by taking advantage of those. So I think it's just it's good practice if you don't have someone behind the scenes really even helping you. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're excited to share it with you, and we'll be excited now you got to see the world premiere, so you can tell everyone that you were there when that happened.
Everybody was here. So Kathleen Koch just wrote, "What a wonderful video! Two thumbs up. Thank you, Kathleen."
Yay, wonderful.
It was a team effort with Victor and Blair and I. Speaking of using technology, I did do that effectively, so I can learn this. So I could learn to actually do this if Victor was away from the building for a long time, and that's really liberating. So I'm going to keep learning these skills. I've come a long way since we've built the studio. But one question I have for you, you were talking about managing the technology as you engage, right? Because one of the things that a virtual talk has that's way better than a live talk is that we're engaging right now with everyone, and I can manage that from here. But one of the things I did at the very opening of our talk was I posted, "We are live now on my personal Facebook." And so I was looking away a bit as I did that. that. And so I wonder, I've been okay with that when I see people hosting something because I know they're doing something techie for the show. But was that okay for you, Blair? Or was that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, like when you're on stage, like there's times where things are going to take a minute, or there's a delay, or maybe there's even an issue. Like I think it's the speaker just to kind of continue to communicate and let people kind of know what they're up to. And one thing we have noticed in this virtual environment is that people are very forgiving. I think we've all been on a Zoom meeting or whatever meeting where the kids come and interrupt, or the dog interrupts, or the cat, like you said, the cat's in the background, something happens. People are not expecting you to be 100% polished all the time when it comes to the technology and the little interruptions and whatnot. So I think if you're managing other things during, that's fine. Just be transparent, be authentic, have a sense of humor if things don't go well, and the audience will stay with you. The last thing they want is you getting all flustered and freaked out, and then it's awkward for everyone. They just feel that, and then they start to disengage because no one likes to feel uncomfortable,
Right.
So I'd say, don't worry so much. I mean, work on it, practice it so you don't feel nervous about managing the tech, but understand that the audience is going to stay with you if you just, treat it lightly and have fun no matter what you're doing.
That's a great point. And I think where I began, shared in the Virtual Sizzler, was just doing Instagram Lives, which are great because that's just a phone stepped up against a book. You don't even need to have a little stand, but you can get those for $10. And that was it. Just going on Instagram Live, and it stays live on the Instagram page. So I think there are ways until you get the studio, and that gave me comfort because I personally felt like, when am I going to start? When's like Moses going to come down from the clouds and tell me it's time to start going virtual because all the live talks were over or at least postponed. And so I think that's one of the best first ways. You don't have to set up anything. You can just get on Instagram Live and start lifting someone else up. I think one of the main things for me, my learning experience so far with COVID has been, you will be remembered as a person or a brand for how you got people through COVID. So if there is someone in need, someone's got a story to tell, go on Instagram Live with them and tell the story. Talk about it with them. Get profile. I mean, we've got issues going on in our community. We need some rent control. It's driving me crazy that people's rents are being doubled because the market is hot for real estate. That's not fair. We're leaving people behind. And so if you know someone like that, get on Instagram Live and start telling their story. I think that kind of activism is often what leads a person to speaking, right? Would you agree with that, Blair?
Yeah, and I quote this often, but one of my first bosses in New York that runs a major speakers bureau had always said, I say speaking is not a vocation, it's an advocation. So if you're just in it for the money, you're not going to be as successful. The speakers that I've known who have been successful and who've really sustained over the years, like Barb, have an amazing mission and a purpose for speaking and sharing a message. I think that's what really drives successful speakers, is having that sense of what they really want to share. And if you're someone that hasn't done a lot of speaking yet, in your heart that you've got something you want to share. That's not everyone. If you're feeling compelled or called to share something that is important to you, then you'll find a way to do it. So I just wanted to, say today, it's not too late. A lot of times we heard throughout this year, the people who pivoted quickly, who adapted quickly are the ones who are going to succeed. And they've got maybe a few steps ahead on you. But it's not too late. No. There's so many. This situation is not changing overnight. First of all, we don't know what 2021 is going to look like. So, and like we mentioned, this is not going anywhere. This format is not going away. There's going to be virtual events forever now. There's going to be hybrid events. So now like she says in the reel, today is the day. It's always today. Get started, because you can get a microphone like I have and a light like I have, and that's it. I just have a laptop or my webcam on my desktop. And for less than $100, you can get a really quality microphone and a light. And that's really all you need to kind of bring it to the next level, because you want to look good and you want your sound to be good. And then the last thing is just make sure you got good internet, or turn the Wi-Fi off on your phone, or, for the hour that you're doing something, just like try to make sure your internet's at high quality. And that's all you really need to focus on. So I think it's not only never been more affordable to do quality virtual presentations, there's never been more opportunities. And having a captive audience, I think what really made this whole situation different wasn't just that speakers had to present virtually, it's that everyone's at home. So people can't go anywhere else to get, knowledge and expertise. Like, they have to leverage the internet or other media to do so. So think about that captive audience and how you can serve them, and really keep in mind like what they're going through, and maybe that might inspire you to think about what you want to share or how you can help.
So we'll go back to some of the amazing people in our community that have joined us this morning. Karen was sharing that she actually read my notification that I was posting this morning while I was talking to you, and that's how she found us. So I feel better now that I did that. So again, we're learning how do we do things and feel like we're still engaged and nobody's being ignored. So this made me feel much better. Thank you, Karen. So when I think about the monetization of this, because that's obviously an ultimate goal, there are different ways. So you're a manager, you manage me, and you have talent, but you also have worked with other organizations who can help someone start right from scratch, where they can really help them. Maybe tell us a little bit about these kinds of organizations. You have one in particular that you've worked with where they can really build their portfolio and learn more about how to become a speaker.
Sure. Yeah. I work with Advance Your Reach, and they help entrepreneurs and business owners grow their business through stages. So, the belief is that the stages are the fastest way to grow your business, which is something I personally believe as well. And, the real three components are having your signature talk, having, a really compelling story that will connect emotionally with an audience and provide content and education. But then you have to circle back and connect with them emotionally again. So I think something that a lot of speakers miss is, they want to get all their content together. They want to, make sure they get their points across on what they're, really wanting to share or train or educate on. But they forget that, there's all manner of psychology in getting an audience to actually receive information. And that starts by making a connection to them. And that really is just sharing a story. So, Advance Your Reach, that's one of the things that we focus on first. The next thing is, as I mentioned, having those assets, having, the video, having the speaker kit, which is really just a bio and topics and some background. You want some credentializing information. You want to be able to show, the event planners what you can do and how you do it and really what you're all about. And then the third one, so this is really what I think is core to your question, Barb, is how are you really making money as a virtual speaker? What are people doing when they're not getting big keynote fees? And how has the business of speaking and the paradigm of that really changed in this environment? And what I'll tell you is the speakers who have products, who have what we call scale, they have something to offer. That's the ones who really maximize the stage and who can turn, what would have otherwise been a $10,000 keynote into maybe $100,000 stage, if not more. So there's all different opportunities out there to speak. Not all of them pay you. In fact, the vast majority of speaking events never pay their speakers. Those digital platforms that I mentioned, not a lot of people are paying you to go on Instagram Live. People are not getting paid to do a lot of these things. But if you have something to give away, if you have a tool or a resource or something that you think would be helpful for someone as kind of a way to get them engaged with your content, that's something you can give away on a free stage, and people will give you their email address. And then maybe you can follow up with emails and market to them around other products or services that you may have. Or there are stages where you can make an offer, where you can go ahead and sell, whatever it is that you're trying to sell, a digital course or a workshop, or just depending on the event, you can really just determine what's going to be the best thing for that audience. In one way or another, that's helping you build your list, because a lot of what these, as you grow as a speaker and you're getting, interest from a virtual summit or an event in general, they want to know, like, how big is your email list? What kind of social media following do you have? It's a reciprocal relationship. Getting on a podcast often means, great, tell me about your list. Tell me about how you can help promote the episode once it airs. And people want to know, there is this reciprocal nature. When there's not a fee transaction, there's something else that you can do. You can barter for the same. So as a speaker, you can say, how how are you going to promote this event? And can I, how can I else participate with this audience? If I participate in the summit, can I also do your podcast? There's all different ways that you can get creative now and really negotiate with a meeting planner for any type of event, different things that are going to be impactful for your business. So no matter what it may be, think about it creatively. Don't just think about getting a keynote fee. Think about what that event can really do for your business and whatever that may look like for you.
That reminds me, because I feel very blessed. After Dragon's Den aired, I joined Speaker Spotlight in Toronto, and I consider them my family. In fact, Farah designed the backdrop, and then Victor built it. And then I've got Big Speak in the USA, and it really has been incredible for me to move into the US market and feel very blessed. But then there's this new other element that's very exciting for anyone who doesn't have an agent or maybe doesn't want to go that direction, or you can do both, is what you're saying, that notion of selling product. And I think about what I'm seeing some exciting things now that I'm more aware of how to do that, because I'll be building that kind of website too, so we can have seminars. Because after I do a podcast, people will write me, do you give seminars? Yes, soon we're going to be having all kinds of cool programming and retreats and all kinds of wonderful brainstorming sessions together. But what I've noticed is there's even baby steps people can take with that. I've noticed that Airbnb has pivoted, and you can teach something on Airbnb and get paid. So you can teach winemaking, beer making, astrology, tarot cards. You could teach anything on Airbnb per class, and then you can go to another level and create your own website and use there's different programs, right, Blair, for the selling your products, your courses, Kajabi.
Yeah, there's different platforms and different kind of, different tools that are either kind of an all-in-one CRM and hosting platform for courses or other content. And then there's, sites like Thinkific, which is really just a hosting platform for different sites. They call them membership sites. You need to have a paid subscriber to get on. So like with any media company that you might have a subscription to the New York Times or something else like that. That's just a platform for people that they have a personalized login so they can get to their content. And I definitely think that's on the rise. Udemy, UDEMY, has been around for a while, and that was kind of an earlier platform that I know that people could upload courses or shoot courses, and then it's kind of a revenue share with the creator and the platform. So that's how a lot of these work. I remember, my first job here in LA, and I was working with a thought leader. I was his chief of staff, and we got an inquiry from this new startup, and they were saying, we'd love for my client, my boss, they wanted him to shoot a course and and share his expertise, and they said, we're gonna get Steven Spielberg, and we're gonna get Aaron Sorkin, and we're going to get these other people. And at the time I was like, okay, yeah, right. Like, what are they're going to do that? Like, you want to pay us $5,000 in some sort of revenue share for this new platform? So that was called Masterclass.
Wow.
And now they're one of the biggest like training companies. They have so many celebrities, so many people that have done this because they recognize too that they can't be everywhere. What the beautiful thing about courses and products and Barb's book and all these things that go beyond how you can touch an audience, how you can, really make an impact with the 1, 200, 2,000, how many ever people may show up to an event. Those things give you that much more reach, that much more scale, having something like that. So when I was poo-pooing and laughing at Masterclass's business model, a few years later, they've got everyone signing up because they realize, cool, I've got something to share. Let's shoot this. And, one day's work can impact millions of people over the course of several years. Who knows how long those courses are going to stick around. And now I see my favorite authors on there. Right. So that's when I'm proud to say I was not quite thinking forward enough when that opportunity came in, because I wasn't realizing how much this virtual everything was going to take over and how people are really going to want to, learn new things, and how many people, even if they have a full-time job and they don't intend to become a full-time screenwriter or something else, want to scratch that creative itch, want to learn how to write a book, want to learn how to do different things. I know that's something, Barb, you're really passionate about too, is you've done a lot of this stuff yourself, and you did it the hard way. You did it, you figured it out, so if you haven't read Barb's book, it's just an incredible story. But just even the act of writing that book, Barb, was a challenge, because you didn't have anyone telling you what to do or how to do it, right? Tell us, how did you start educating yourself on some of these things, and how did that translate to what you started doing later?
Well, my book is now in 8th edition, and I basically, like you were saying earlier, Blair, just like anyone who wants to do speaking, you have something that you want to share and help others with. You know something that others need, and their life can be made better, and that's I think the kindness in our hearts is what drives us. This idea that, someone out there someone out there might be being bullied right now. Someone out there might want to run for office and they don't know how. Someone might be really upset in their marriage, and maybe they're being verbally abused or whatever, and they don't have the courage to leave. And so I really felt like I can't have that happen. So I've got to take all that stoic wisdom and put it together. And of course, it was inspired by my best friend, Captain Green, and devoted to him. So that was really it. And I have a few other books in me that I've finally begun to start again, because I've learned how to manage my time, going to bed at 9:30, getting up at 4 or 5, and using that window to really write and be creative, except on Fridays when I want to bake something fabulous for our tournament with our parents. So that's been really exciting. And I think that that's what anybody out there listening is all about. You have some knowledge and some wisdom, and you know that others need it, and how do they access it? And it's got a value, because your knowledge, and back to what Blair was saying, I worked really hard to learn how to write this book, and that's important information that's got a value. And so you can monetize that information because you worked hard and you created a new pathway. And so I think that that's really a part of it. And then when I think about the difference between Kajabi and Thinkific and the formats, like, I'm really excited to engage and have ours up and running in January. And even just for me to be surfing around and looking at how Kajabi works, Thinkific, and just trying to find something that's user-friendly, because, as much as I love having Victor with me and he's a genius, I need to learn how to do these things myself. And I want to be able to just upload and not have to go, Blair, Victor, can you guys upload this? And so I think it is about the right system. And I know Missy's out there. And Missy, you were saying you love Missy, best book ever. Thank you, sweetie. But you love Thinkific, Missy. I'd love for you to share some of why you love Thinkific if you're still with us. And you also, Missy paid $100 for Gordon Ramsay's Skills Masterclass. Awesome Christmas present. Learning new things at your own speed is important. That's an excellent point, where people can come in, go at their own pace, not feel the pressure of other people in a classroom, right? I love that. I never really thought about that. That's actually...
Yeah, and you guys might be wondering, like, why are we talking about books? Why are we talking about this? I thought this was about speaking. Well, having a book is one of the fastest ways to be... writing a book is never fast. But once you have the book, that's one of the, kind of fastest ways to get yourself on stages, because it instantly credentializes you. It instantly, establishes you as an expert, and it gives everyone kind of a, something to grasp, that they think that, okay, this is what they're all about. This is what they're going to cover, and they can see why it's valuable. I want to give you guys a couple tips on, like, why you should write a book, or when you should write a book. If you're someone that's constantly asked to be a mentor, if you're someone that gets a lot of questions and people asking you how you did this or how you did that, you should probably write a book. Now, if a book seems too daunting, start with LinkedIn articles. I love just writing things that come to mind.
I've done that.
Because when you get the same question, now there's like the rule of 3. If you get the same question 3 times, write an article about it. If you've got clients and they ask you the same question 3 times, if you find yourself explaining the same concept multiple times, how much easier would it be to just write it down once and then just share that? So use that as kind of a barometer of the things that people care about, the things that really people look to you about, and then get started with some of that content marketing, some of just creating that content from there. And you don't know where that could go. That could go to, turning that article into a talk that you give dozens of times. It could turn into a book. So even if you're thinking about it's a little too daunting to write a book or any of this stuff to get out there, I'd just say, start writing about what you know and putting it out there on Medium, on LinkedIn. It's free and you're in front of the right audience already. So I just wanted to encourage you that. And then, yeah, think about digital courses. Think about how you can turn that into something even more interactive. And if you haven't experienced a digital course, go and sign up for one first. See what it's like. Go and emulate the people that you love and the people that you respect. See how they're doing it. See, everyone is kind of copying one another, but you bring your unique content, you bring your personality and style. But definitely, I always recommend everyone, even as a speaker, look at the speakers that you admire. If you want to be like them, see where they spoke. Pitch yourself to the same places or find a way to look at similar conferences so you can get there. It's always good to have role models and avatars of people that you want to emulate and follow.
I wanted to mention that with the book. I love that. Another way, I mean, I've printed my book and I had a designer do all the layout, but now you can use Canva and you can use it for free, and it can actually give you the power to design your own book, and it can be an ebook. So, you can really do this inexpensively. Have a book like Blair said, and it can be a short book. It can be a pamphlet book. It can be, some of my favorite books are short little books by philosophers like Seneca and Cicero. And, they're only 40 pages, but they're the most powerful 40 pages. And so I love this notion now that you could sit down right now, work on a short book and do the book cover, which I send to Blair all the time when I'm like, check out this book cover. And you can create it and have it up and running in your program, whether it's Thinkific or Kajabi, and selling it. And then obviously it's always great to go to print because there's nothing like a printed book. But I wanted to ask you, Blair, you've worked for different agencies as well throughout the years. Your education's in this background. You're one of the most highly trained people in this industry that I've ever met, and humble. And what does a person do? How does a person, people always ask me, how do you get an agent? And I know it's not the easiest thing. I'm very fortunate and blessed that I consider my agencies in the US and Canada to be family. And I don't really know what to tell people when they ask me, because I was kind of introduced to both agencies. I'm not sure when someone when they haven't built up their the videos, their reels, their books. So what do you tell? Because I know you used to get tons of LinkedIn emails. I'm sure you still do. What's the sort of process, and how does a person know if they've got the stuff? Right?
Yeah, great question. And as you mentioned, sometimes it is all about relationships. If you want to get the attention of a speakers bureau or a speaking agency, we'll start there. You might want to look at their site and see who who is on that site that you may know or have a connection to. Really, what drives speakers bureaus is they're serving their corporate clients, but they also want to work with speakers that have some level of demand. So speakers agencies are most going to take notice if you already are getting speaking requests. If people are already, kind of interested in you as a speaker, that's that's kind of the real answer, is what drives people to speaking to the agencies. And if you have a new book that becomes a bestseller, or you have a TV show, or you're in a movie. I mean, it sounds like it's so insurmountable, but that's really the fastest way. Is if you have a platform already, that's where they're interested in kind of helping, take on your speaking or manage your speaking. But I also work with an agency that anyone can join as long as they've got the bio and the video and all of that. So there's new services out there where you can just pay a monthly fee and have a dedicated agent be pitching you, kind of a new form of PR, but really with the focus on speaking engagements and not just media interviews or things like that. So there are different models out there if you're looking for help or representation. But the truth is, most of the time, you're going to have to be your own agent until you get to a point where really the demand is coming in. And building that demand, can come from all different ways, like we just mentioned. It can come from a book. It can come from a show. It can come because you've got a huge following on social media. If you've got those assets, that's what makes you more attractive to publishers. That's what makes you more attractive to agencies. Like I said, it's a reciprocal relationship. They can bring a lot of new opportunities your way, but they kind of want to know what you're able to do for them, or how you're going to make that job a little bit easier because you've already got kind of the recognition in your industry or in your field, something like that. So I know that's not, the sunshiny answer ever everyone wants to hear. But like Barb said, you don't need an agent necessarily. You can do a lot of this, on your own and reach out to the places that are really important to you. But when you get to that level of, demand is coming in and you've got, you can't really manage it on your own, or would be better managed by a professional, that's the best time to approach an agency or have someone that make an introduction to someone at an agency.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened in my case. And also, too, an agent will negotiate a better deal for you because people don't want to talk about money. I remember I was giving free talks, driving around white-knuckled in my Volvo in snowstorms to 3 people at the New Glasgow Library because I wanted to be there, and those 3 people mattered. And I didn't really think about selling the talk because I made so much money from the books. And I remember my wallet would be just so full from all the book money that I was so excited. And then I'll tell you, I shared Captain Green's vision. I promised him in the hospital that he would take the stage and speak up for the rights for women in Afghanistan. And I had this whole thing imagined. And so then I made it happen. And we filled the World Trade Center with 500 people. We had Julie Black sing beautiful gospel songs. We had filmmakers from Afghanistan speak. We had the first soldier who ever created a female Shura. And when Captain Green came out, it was just so powerful. I remember the priest beside me, his rosary flew out from his chest before he stepped up from the momentum of his enthusiasm to see Captain Green come out. It felt so good. But I still owed money after I had organized the whole thing. So after ticket prices, getting a couple of sponsors, I still owed about $3,500 left on my Visa card. And that's a lot of money to owe with interest. And so I got asked to speak again, which I always did for free. And I got asked to speak in Bedeck at a women's business conference. And they asked me, how much do you charge? And I said, well, what did your last speaker get paid? And they said $3,000. I said, that's what I charge. And that's how I first got paid as a speaker. And I drove home from Bedeck and I'd sold 2,500 in books and I had this 3,000. I paid off the Visa for Captain Green's event and I had some money. And I remember just feeling so good about that. And then after Dragon's Den, that's when my investor, Brett Wilson, introduced me to Farah at Speaker Spotlight. And that's how I got the agent. And I'll tell you, it really helped me because I don't like to talk money. I really don't like to talk money. I won't. And so that's where an agency is so amazing because they can deal with it all. And often when you're the speaker, everybody wants to have coffee with you every day and talk to you, but you're still trying to run your business, which is why they want you to speak. And so you're trying to be delicate about the reason you want to talk to me and learn from me is because I have to have time to go run this company, but you don't want to say that to someone. So the beauty of an agent, whether it's Canada, US, send them to the agent and just go, they'll take care of you. And I'm blessed that I have agents and a manager who are so wonderful that I know they're in good hands because I also care about how they're treated. When someone thinks about having you speak, you want them to feel like they're important because they matter. And when you're letting go of that, you've got to make sure it's someone who you can trust. So I feel very blessed the years I've had with my agent. So I think that's one of the reasons to get an agent. You can do it on your own, but ultimately there'll come a point where you don't want to talk money. You want to be the happy person that's going to go in with a message and change everyone's life. That's kind of challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you shared that story because you're talking about an in-person live physical event, right, that you planned for Captain Green and all the expenses that went into it, renting the venue. Maybe you've got food and beverage. Maybe you've got AV people to pay. There's a lot of expenses. And that's when you're planning your own stage. So you'll see most speakers that plan their own events, they're big. They've got a big following. They're like Tony Robbins big. They're going to plan this big event. They're going to sell thousands of tickets and they're all like, they're at that level. You don't see a lot of speakers doing that because it's so expensive. But with a virtual engagement, there's no expenses. Those a few expenses for tech that I mentioned, that's it. And look, we're on a stage. Look, you can plan your own event. You can invite people. So that's the other opportunity that you have right now is it used to be so difficult. It's so expensive and prohibitively expensive to really host your own event if you wanted to have it in anywhere outside of your home. And now you can do it right from your home and have a huge audience. So I think that's just such a cool opportunity. And of course, I would, echo Barb's Barb's, feelings about having an agent or a manager. You don't have to, go if you can't get the attention of a big agency or something like that. Like, you can still hire someone on your team to do that negotiating. You can still have people that do that for you because, like, I think that's common, Barb. Most people don't like to negotiate for themselves. They don't want to say, well, I'm worth this much. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. And you want to, by the time you're at that point, you really want to, maybe empower someone else to do that on your behalf. And I would agree, of course, that it's well worth, a commission to them or whatever, so they can really keep elevating you and just manage the details that you shouldn't have to manage, once you're at that level. Like, Barb is making beans this morning. I keep telling her, I'm like, you need to do less, and we need to get you a housekeeper. We need to scale you. There's only so much Barb time there is.
Oh, that's therapeutic, though. It's so satisfying to cook. I really do love it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially if I've never done it before. Like, you don't know if it's going to turn out. Like, I should just maybe bought Heinz beans, but you know what? They're really good. So I'm excited. I'm really like, wow, I can do this. So yeah, that's fun. I mean, I make extra time. I don't waste time. That's the key thing. I don't waste a minute. So I get to do those things. But yeah, having people help me would be nice, but it's probably not likely going to happen. But I mean, now in this virtual world, you can go give a virtual talk. I have an interview with a magazine right after this, and then we'll go for our walk, my husband and I, and then we'll be back and we'll have our backgammon cribbage tournament, which we live for. And it's a beautiful day, and we get to share all this information with all these beautiful people that joined our community. And this is going to stay up. So any of you out there that enjoyed this, you want to share with friends. I had people emailing me that said I can't attend, but I want to watch it after. This will stay up live. Blair, we have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything else you want to share with everyone before we go away for the weekend and get wine? And
yeah, as it's 9 a.m. here, I'm like, I'm ready for breakfast, but maybe some breakfast wine, maybe a mimosa. It's Friday, why not? I think everything we shared today, I hope, is helpful. I'm happy if you guys ever if you want to reach out to me, if you've got questions, you can reach me at BBN at BBN Creative Management. And, I would just say, get started, try something new, experiment. There's no harm in trying. It doesn't matter if no one shows up to your live. It doesn't matter if your first event has 5 people, 10 people, make it a conversation. If you want to get started as a speaker, now there's never been a better time to leverage technology and to start building an audience. There's so many events out there. There's so many organizations that could use your expertise, that could leverage your experience for the betterment of their organization or their members or their audience, whatever it may be. Just think about the message you want to share and the stories that are really going to connect with that audience. Think about the ideal audience for you if you're going to do it to grow your business. Think about really who you want to talk to and find events and look for stages that have that kind of audience. And then finally, think about what you really are selling on the back end, because you need to make this, profitable for you. Not everyone can afford to just go out and speak. Barb was selling books and perfume, and that really helped grow her business at the same time she was speaking and get the almost grassroots interested in her amazing brand. You can have all sorts of different types of products. Digital products are wonderful because once you produce them, like we shared with Masterclass, that's it. That's the cost. That's the only cost involved, is the time and maybe some of the tech involved with creating them, and then they just exist for you to be able to sell. That's a huge profit margin on things like that. So start getting strategic about those 3 things in your speaking business, and you can turn it into a full-time job.
Blair, thank you so much. This is like, we've been on for an hour. I could keep talking to you. By the way, stay on though. I do want to keep talking. Everybody, thank you. Have a fabulous weekend. You can reach out to Blair if you have any questions. This is going to stay up. Have a great Friday. And Blair, thank you for your time so early this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Thanks, Barb.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.